So it's 7:55 p.m., and the stage manager over the loudspeaker says, "All actors to places." And I stand in front of the mirror, I look at my costume one last time, and make my way to the stage, where I see my other fellow actors. I stare out at the audience, at all 1,200 people. I pick out some friends of mine, and then I look at the conductor, and he taps his baton on the music stand. He raises his arms. Downbeat. Once upon a time. Beep, beep, beep. 7:55 in the morning, 12 hours prior. I'm waking up. I have my French press coffee. It's going to be a fabulous morning. And all of a sudden, the phone rings. Hello? Eduardo? This is Mika. So here's the deal. Javi, who plays the baker in Into the Woods, isn't able to go on tonight. He's lost his voice. And his understudy isn't able to go on either. Would you be willing to go on for him? Pause button. I was just being asked by the producer of the theater company to perform a role that I've never rehearsed, I've never performed, in front of a sold-out house of 1,200 people with a live orchestra, with 12 hours notice. Mika, the only answer I can say is yes. So what happens when you step into your worst nightmare? The actor's nightmare, where you're standing naked in front of 1,200 people, performing a role that you've never prepared for. So when you step into that, when you step into your biggest fear, which I did in August of 2014, I was present to 3 gifts. One was the gift of generosity. The second was the gift of surrender. And the third was the gift of time. So the gift of generosity. So when you say yes to something that huge, everyone in the world shows up to help you. So immediately, from the moment that the news spread that I was going on for the baker, does anyone know Into the Woods, the musical? So just very quickly, it's a Stephen Sondheim musical, where there are all these different fairy tales that are being told, Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, Cinderella, and all of these characters go into the woods, right, to get what they want, and it's all bridged together by the story of a baker and his wife trying to have a child. So the baker is like heart of the show, and the main character. So I was getting text messages, I was getting calls from my fellow actors, just edging me on, saying, "Congratulations, this is so awesome, this is great." And at noon, I started my first rehearsal. So from noon to 1, I worked with a musical director and I worked with a pianist. And I got one shot at the entire score. Then, right after that, I met with a costume designer, the costume department, and they tried on the costumes to make sure everything fit. That was smooth. And then I went and I started blocking the show. Now, the Elizabethan Theater, where I was performing at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, is outside, and it's the summer. So at 2 o'clock, it's like 100 degrees outside. So you're unable to be outside. So I had to be inside a rehearsal studio where the set was taped out on the floor. Now this is a 3-story theater with very dynamic entrances. So you really don't get a feel for being on the space. So you're kind of imagining it with tape on the floor. The actor playing the baker, right, the actor, who's actually Javi Munoz, who's playing Hamilton right now on Broadway, he had lost his voice, so he couldn't speak to me. So he was writing notes on a notepad as he was pushing me around the stage. And because it's a repertory acting company, the actors were in other shows. So we were piecemealing through the script and not really able to get a start to finish arc of the show. But we did the best that we could. Then, when that was over at 6:30, I had the privilege of going on stage and singing through 2 songs with the orchestra. And then at 7:55, I walked on stage, and at 8 o'clock, the show began. So the second gift is the gift of surrender. So guess what? It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go, right? And it's not going to be perfect. It's not rehearsed. right? You get one shot at it. So what it is live. What it is alive. And what you get to do is surrender that perfectionist, right? And just give it up. And in that space, you have the clearing for the next gift, which is the gift of time. And what I mean by time is I mean the gift of being in the present. Because time stops. It's like the Matrix. Like every moment is a moment and a moment. And you can just really savor the living and the breathing in that moment. God bless you. And all you have to rely on are your fellow acting company members. Eye to eye, action, reaction, and just being present. I carried a script. So I was holding a script in my hand. And I only had the scene that I was currently working on. Like I didn't have like 3 scenes forward because I couldn't even think about that. All I could think about was what I was doing right now. So I ask you to imagine in your own leadership when you're called upon to step into your biggest fear. That thing that seems so huge, so out of any possible consideration, and you're given a choice to step into the fear and say yes, or to choose no. I offer you, as you have these orange bracelets that say fear less, it doesn't mean fear gone, it doesn't mean fear done, it doesn't mean fear without. It literally means standing in the face of what you fear so that it lessens, it diminishes. As you step into that, get that you have these gifts on the other side. The gift of generosity, the gift of surrender, and the gift of time. And you get an opportunity to discover yourself as more powerful than you ever thought possible. And you get to be the person. You get to stand and say, I was the person who saw this huge obstacle and said yes. So there's a caveat to the story. Like I said, it's outside, it's the summer, it's Oregon. There were wildfires raging throughout the northern state of California and Oregon. So the other thing I didn't share is the baker was actually my dream role. It was one of my dream roles to play. And I had auditioned for it and I didn't get it. So I was literally handed and offered, in this extreme circumstance, my dream role. And they canceled the show at the intermission. So I didn't get to complete the role. And I didn't get a chance to sing my favorite song. No more giants waging war. Can't we just pursue our lives with our children and our wives till that happier day arrives? How do you ignore all the witches, all the curses, all the wolves, all the lies, the false hopes, the goodbyes, the reverses, all the wondering what even worse is still in store? All the children, all the giants, no more. My name is Eduardo Placer. I'm a public speaking coach. And what I do is I work with leaders and change makers and entrepreneurs to own their story and own their voice so they can transform communities in the world. So that's who I'm looking to meet. So you have a sheet that is my speaker's information. I'm available to come into your company and deliver an hour-long talk that I call Hacking the Fear of Public Speaking. So looking at the mindset and looking at the body, the approach to speaking. So you speak from a place of power and not a place of panic. And also I work one-on-one with clients, again, to work on what I just demonstrated, how you own your story so that you can stand powerfully and inspire other people to transform themselves and their communities. Thank you very much.